it'll work out. Okay, cool. I just did that and it's working out. Okay, cool. So number one, appreciate you for coming through and taking the time to have this conversation with me. Hope everything is going well with you. I know there's a lot of craziness going on. I did check your Instagram recently. I'm like, do I talk about the whole beef situation? Because it seems like, you're kind of playing it professional. And then I looked and it's like just a roast fest. So I'm like, I guess it's fair
Yeah,
game.
yeah, no, it's all good, man.
Well, I definitely want to talk about more substances stuff with regards to your journey and before I start, I just want to say that the limits record that you guys put out is crazy. And everybody, once you're done with this interview, everybody go on YouTube and look up Limits by Brown Boys, because I've personally never heard a song like Limits. Even if you compare it to modern day Punjabi artists, either from India or from the Americas, how would you describe your production style if you had to?
Um, Pretty much been like kind of the same since I started back in, let's say, like 2007. My style is more so of a darker sound, more bass heavy. Um, Sometimes a little sample based. I like sampling sometimes, but um, it's more of that. I would say vibe is more of a darker vibe if I had to, in simple terms. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. More bass heavy, darker.
And I forget, are you on FL still?
Um, nah, I dropped that a while ago.
What DAW are you using now?
Right now I'm using Cubase.
Cubase. So you went back to the old school DAW.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's old school, but yeah, I mean, for me, it works better just because like I don't want to be making a beat in FL and then I know you could record vocals in FL, but for me, I just like everything in one spot. So for me, Cubase is where I can do the production and the vocals, the mixing, everything on one. Just it's easier to like export files like in one shot. You know what I mean? I know you can do the same in FL, but I felt like, say for instance, if you're missing a VST or something, it gives you problems every time you open it up. Oh, I can't find this, or where is this missing, or something gets misplaced. With Cubase, I never had any issue if I open up the file like 2 years later.
That's dope. I actually really didn't expect you to say that. And I mean, I use Acid, so I feel like, say what?
And that's
Yeah. Well, I think Cubase is more like the OG DAW more so than the old school DAW, and Acid I guess was kind of around at the same time. I think Cubase predated it because Cubase was seen more as a professional DAW because of all of its MIDI capabilities and audio capabilities and this and that. But that's crazy, yeah, because I think a lot of people don't even think to go towards these grid based DAWs like Pro Tools or Cubase or I guess Acid to for beat making.
right, right. Um, I mean, just because you know what it was like when I started earlier on, like I used FL, I used Reason a little bit as well, and then I also had something called Nuendo, which is like I guess the more video side of it, but it was the same thing as Cubase, the same layout and everything. But I guess it more had like video editing capabilities, right? So I mean, I never used those features, but I was just familiar with Nuendo from the beginning. So for me to ease into Cubase, it just made more sense. I feel like it's more powerful as a DAW compared to FL for me.
So are you doing a lot of recording and mixing of vocals as well as beats?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just like an all-in-one. I can make the beat. I I can have the vocals recorded directly into the software. I can do all the mixing and everything. Like it can handle a lot more. Whereas I felt like with FL, it started like crapping out. And just to record vocals, which I have done in FL, I just found it a little bit more tedious. And
Mm.
it's like bring up the sampler, have it, and then drag and drop that vocal into the, where you loop the pattern and stuff. So I'm like, why? Yeah, I just want to get to it. You know what I mean?
Do you have any favorite VSTs that you use?
Yeah. Um, my go-to is Nexus. You know what I mean? Nexus, Contact, um, Omnisphere is good for some sounds. Yeah, I would say like Nexus is like my go-to right off the bat.
So I know we used to talk and interact on Twitter years ago. I think we started back in like 2010 maybe, and I think we were in initially really similar positions in the sense that we were both chasing industry placements, doing label runs, that kind of thing. And around that time, you linked with French Montana and did I want to say at least one record, maybe more with him. How did that happen?
Um, so pretty much like how I think it works in any circumstances is like you got to know somebody that knows somebody, right? Because I was looking through your Twitter and I also seen like the same situations where like people are having this hard time of just because since 2010 the amount of producers that have been coming out since the past 10 years or longer, like everybody just fighting for that placement or like just sending out emails of beats to this artist, not knowing like if it's the right email or not, but it might be an expired old email. So it's like you get lost in the shuffle, right? So I feel like I think we're gonna touch upon this later on as well, but the best way is like somebody that knows them, right? So that's how it happened. Is that I had a mutual friend that knew Chinks and knew French, so he heard of my production, and then he kind of showed them my work, and then that's how Chinks and French reached out. It's telling them to send them like a folder full of beats, like and I'm in talks with French even till like today. You know what I mean? So we're still working. You know what I mean? So that's how that happened. Just knowing somebody that knows them.
And at that time when you were working with French Montana, was there a big Punjabi rap scene in Toronto?
Nah, man. Nah. I would say this whole vibe or genre started. I would say about 3 4 years ago. Yeah, I would say like 2015, 2016 is like when this style of Punjabi hip hop in Canada like really like made noise. You know what I mean?
So around that time, were you working with a lot of unsigned artists, or were you mostly focused on major placements and breaking into the United States music scene?
Um, yeah, I mean, the thing that I feel like where it did work the best for me was having your own like homegrown team, right? So I always had my boy or like Sonny Malton. He's also a rapper, part of Brown Boys. We run Brown Boys together, and I linked up with him pretty early on. I would say, yeah, we linked up probably around 2005, 2006, something like that. So I feel like that's like the main thing is just having like a solid team that like you stick by and you delegate certain things for them to take care of or whatnot, right? So I was definitely more focused like after realizing that like after French Montana, like I had a couple other placements, but I found that it was more difficult to like reach out to these artists or get to them just because they're in a different country or maybe I don't have the direct link to them. You know what I mean? So it makes it difficult because, like I said earlier, like everybody I think is pretty much just making beats and just sending like emails probably like every 5 minutes, like of beats to this artist, that artist. Not like I said, not knowing if it's the right email or whatnot, right? So I felt like once I realized that, like, yo, this is not gonna really work. Just like trying to get being heard or whatnot, right? So it's better to have your own team and kind of build from like the ground up. You know what I mean? So having Sunny rap on my beats, doing videos ourselves, YouTube is there. Like you have all the necessary tools for you to get heard and be heard. So everything's at your disposal. It's just you gotta kind of have a ear for it and know like what the people want or what are they looking for, and try to give them that. You know what I mean? Try to capture that. So I felt like it was a slow process for sure, but definitely, I think for me, working with like local artists is what also helped elevate everything else.
So you started working with Sonny on a kind of a rapper producer basis. How did that evolve into you and him forming Brown Boys?
Um, Brown Boys, that something we had like a different team name before, and we had a couple other different artists that we were trying to have like the little like a little crew, I guess you can say. Um, but after sometimes like everybody in the group, sometimes when they don't share the same vision, like somebody wants to do something else and somebody else wants to do something else, like they're not on the same page with things. So it just came down to just me and Sunny like thinking about like rebranding ourselves and like starting over again pretty much. So we had a lot of like restarts. Like we were doing some, but we felt like okay, that wasn't working. But we went back to square one. Let's see, like let's try something else. You know what I mean? So I think this was around 2013, 2014, where me and him are just chilling at my crib, and so in Canada, our highest denomination like dollar bill is $100 bill, and the color is brown. So we always had this like go getter mind like mentality, you want to call it, just being like hustlers. So what's the objective is to get money, you know what I'm saying? So like that's, and then in the streets, so when you had a lot of $100 bills, it was called brown boys. So it kind of worked both ways because me and him are both brown, we're Punjabi. We want to rep for our culture, right? Like being in Toronto, Canada, Brampton. So we wanted to rep for that, so it kind of made sense that we run with like brown boys as the name, and then kind of brand off of that with clothing, with merch, and just putting that like as a tagline in the songs whenever we dropped them. You know what I mean? Like, because the thing is, early on, I knew from like high school like how important branding was and how to like market yourself and to get to people's attention. You know what I mean? So we kind of use all these different tactics to kind of like
Mm.
try, like because in the beginning my mindset was I'm like I'm not stopping until like the whole world like knows who we are. You know what I mean? Like I had that set out. So we came up with Brown Boys as the name around 2013, 2014, and then we kind of just I designed like and it was kind of like also a play off of like Coke Boys with French in them, but it kind of just made sense with Brown Boys, right? Just taking it to like a whole different market, a whole different, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we kind of just ran with that.
So you designed the logo as well?
Yeah. Like Photoshop, you know what I mean?
Yes. Okay. So you're not just producing music for Brown Boys. You're a leader in the company. You founded it
Right.
or co-founded it, and so you're
Yeah.
also co-running it. What was it
Yes.
like then transitioning? So now you go from shopping records to labels and to artists that are in another country, to having your own label. What was it like having more control over your music and the I guess the direction of the music, the release dates, and all that? Now that you're running a label.
Right. I mean, it's a blessing just because, like, I felt like yeah, I'm a good team player, but just from the beginning, I just always felt like I just know what I gotta do, and I'll do whatever it takes to get the job done, right? So like I'm very good at self teaching myself. Like I didn't take no courses for Photoshop or like even music production. It was all just like self taught, and it's just like that's what I'm saying. Like once you have that drive of telling yourself and trying to proving it to yourself that like I'm not stopping for nothing. Like you know what I mean? Like there's like you'll do whatever. You take the initiative to learn it, like trial and error. You know what I mean? So like for me, being able to have like me and Sunny to be able to have like full control of how we want to work, how we want to move, when we want to release something. Like it's it's like satisfying. You know what I mean? It's like it's like what anybody would want, really. You know what I mean? Instead of not knowing or like for example, like we were like talking earlier, like just sending beats out and not knowing if the artist heard them or not, and just being this like uncertainty for me and him is like something that we couldn't deal with, being uncertain. So this way, you're doing everything yourself, so there's all the certainties there because you're handling every aspect from A to Z. You know what I mean? How we're shooting the video, how we're moving in the video, where we're releasing it, how we're releasing it. You know what I mean? What merch are we wearing in it? Like it all ties in.
Okay, so what was the moment when you realized, all right, this is working. Brown Boys is making the kind of impact that I want it to make, and we need to just keep going with this. I mean, we're in a position where we know that this is our time.
Right. I would say that was probably like I would say around 2016 because I've been producing since like I said 2006 2007, just starting out, right. But I would say it took literally like 10 years for me to be like, okay, because obviously I had like other like I had another career too, which was like in architecture. So I did schooling, um, using AutoCAD and all this kind of stuff to design stuff, right? So that was my backbone in schooling was architecture. So I always did that, and I had a job, like a career in my field for like a couple of years. But music was always after I come back from work, like I'm doing my music, or what it was always music as a secondary thing, more of a hobby. But I would say in 2016, when I told myself, you know what, it's this or nothing, right? Because I was always like juggling both like fields, right? Working, hustling, doing my thing, and then music, right? But when I told myself like 2016, like, yo, it's it's all or nothing. So that's when I felt like everything started like elevating for all of us. So I had like 100% attention into music, and it was something I would do from literally when I woke up to like late at night, like 3, 4 in the morning. You know what I mean? It'll be like a all day. It's like a full out business. You know what I mean? Like you have to have that business mentality. Like there is no sleep. You know what I mean? So in 2016 is when that kind of turned, and I took that approach that I'm gonna take what I learned in the hip hop industry, making beats the way that I do, and bringing it to like my culture, like Punjabi in the Punjabi India market, and started working with like local talents from here. And I would say everything also like Sidhu, I would say also helped to elevate our brand because it was that one song that we did, um,
So high.
so high. Hold on, I don't want to mess up the date because I'm never good with dates. One second, I want to see when we released that. That was
It was 20. I know it was 2017. I don't know the
20.
exact
Yeah.
date.
So yeah, so from 2016 having that mentality of it's all or nothing, and then when we dropped this track in 2017 is where everything just escalated because even in that we had that I'm a brown boy tag in there. We had such a different look for the people living in India. It was something so different and so new to them. that, and the thing was like the song was really catchy, the musically like the vocals were good, like lyrics were good, like everything, like it just worked. I guess it was that perfect timing moment for me that like from there just everything just went crazy. It was like a viral song for like so many years. You know what I mean? So at
Yeah,
that
I
point
think
in time,
it still has momentum right now. I mean, people,
yeah,
how
it's
many? It's
still
like 250 million YouTube views or something ridiculous.
it's at like 300 right now, 300 million.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's just I get yo honestly, bro. It's just everything's just timing, right? You just gotta we don't you don't know when the timing is gonna be, but you gotta keep clawing away at it. You know what I mean? And it's just this just work, right? And then from this we gave like back to back to back hits, like no song with this like with Sidhu like flop wasn't even like the word that could be put in the sentence. You know what I mean? Like it was just hit after hit after hit, like for 3 straight consecutive years from 2017 to up until recently. You know what I mean? So I did about 16, 17, maybe 18 something songs with Sidhu, and like all of them went crazy. So it was this momentum that elevated everything.
So in 2016, it wasn't like you hit some financial benchmark. It wasn't like you looked at your bank account and you're like, "Oh wow, I just made 6 figures off music. I can quit my job." It was more of a mental change that you made.
Yeah, 100%. It was like the money's always been good just because, like I said, we have that hustler mentality that we got to go and get it. Whether you got to work 9 to 5 or you do like your side hustles, your business, you know what I mean? So it's like the money was never the issue. It was just having that mentality of, I got to go and get it. Like, if this is what I really want, I got to put my all into it and I can't focus on other things. You know what I mean? So definitely.
So then when So High happened, here's my question. How did that relationship even start? Because Sidhu is not a Canadian citizen. He's from India and
Um,
he came over, or I guess maybe I don't know all the ins and outs, but somehow he comes to Canada. The Brown Boys relationship starts, and it seems like everybody just benefited from that.
right. So it's not like, see, a lot of people have this like misconception that oh, like like the haters, I guess you want to call it, like, oh, nobody knew you before Sidhu, whatever they want to say. But like me, like I said, in 2014 is when we started Brown Boys, and we've been pumping Brown Boys like ever since, right? So and now in 2016 is like when our venture started, like I'll say late 2016 with Sidhu. So um sorry, my bad. What was the question again?
I
Sorry,
guess just
veering
how
off.
did that relationship even start,
Oh,
given
right,
that
right.
everyone's from a different uh,
Yeah. So
continent?
he's from Punjab, and I guess from what he had told me initially was that he heard my music, my beats in India, because like from the placements of French and me being Punjabi, and it wasn't like a common thing where like an Indian Punjabi producer is working with, you know, uh, with French and whoever else, like the mainstream, the American hip hop lane. So that's how my name even initially got buzzing from that time. Like, oh, because our community is so huge, like word gets around. Like, oh, you hear this Indian kid from Canada produce, for French, like, and the record was hot. You know what I mean? So um, from that, I guess like he had heard my music, so then he had messaged me on Facebook actually, like in my inbox, like my DM in Facebook, saying, hey bro, like I love your beats, like like I want to do a song with you. Can I come by the studio? So then I had hit him back saying, here's my manager's number, hit him up, and then we'll link up. So that's what happened. So my manager hit him up, talked to him, brought him to the studio, and from the jump, like I guess like he already had this record, like the So High record, and his like he already had it written out. Like it was. he's like, bro, I'm doing this song. Like, I want to do these are the lyrics, and like he just sang it for me a cappella, and I was listening to it, and I was like, yeah, like, I didn't really make too much of it. I'm like, yeah, cool, don't worry, like we can do this song for sure. And then we discussed like pricing, right? Because that's the difference. Like how it works over here is like usually like on the hip hop side, I guess it's like if you're a beat maker, you're making beats for potential artists, not knowing who. Like maybe you have an artist in mind that, oh, I want like Lil Baby on this, or I want Future on this, or whoever, right? So you cater kind of to what they want. But on this side, I heard the vocals first. He sang them to me, and then at that moment, I didn't know what I was doing or what I was making for the music, but I heard it. And then one thing he had told me was, "Hey, bro, like, uh, can you make this like an anthem track? It has to be sounding like an anthem." I said, "Okay, don't worry, like, no worries, I got you. Like, I'll see what I can do." And then so what we did was we got in the booth and I played a little like dummy, I guess, little loop or something, right? Like a clicker or something, and he had laid down the lyrics, like the vocals, and then all I had was now the vocals, and then which this is the same way that works on majority of the Punjabi songs that I've done and other people do is we get the vocals and I cater the music around to the vocals. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
I made the vibe according to like what I envisioned, like from what I was hearing of what he was talking about in the song. You know what I mean?
So real quick, we have some questions coming in from the chat. Gersh wants to ask, basically it's publicized that there was a split between both parties, and the question is, what's the future for Brown Boys moving forward? I mean, you have a bunch of crazy artists. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm like I said, I'm a fan of the Limits record quite a bit, and that's Big Boy Deep and Sonny
Yeah, shout
Malta.
out to Big Boy Deep, you know what I mean? The future, like we're just gonna keep getting it, right? Like there's so much other new talent out there, like hidden gems in India or in Canada, right? Most like there's a lot of students that have been coming from India, on a study basis that have like crazy vocals, crazy lyrical talent. You know what I mean? Like everything just takes time. So I Big Boy Deep is another one of our artists that I work closely with that we have probably like another 10, 15 tracks ready to be released. So we're just making a game plan on how we want to release everything. Um, and like we're just gonna keep it moving. Like whoever wants to work, like like you know what I mean. We're here, so we're not stopping. You know what I mean? Like that was like a good 3 year chapter. You know what I mean? Now it's time to move on to other things.
Okay, so back to branding, and you brought it up that in high school you knew branding was important. We have a lot of your fans in here. Shout out to Gersh, and then who else? I posted it. Someone said, yeah, Byg Byrd is hands down the best producer in the game. So, and then of course there are a bunch of people in the comments typing, I'm a Brown boy. So if anyone's even heard one song, even if it's just the first 30 seconds of a song that you produced, they probably know where that's from.
Right.
And it's the tags, it's the shout outs on the songs, it's the chain, and you're wearing it right now, it's the hat, you got the cartoon versions of yourself with the white streak in your beard.
Right.
It's the merchandise, it's the intro of the video, the 3D Brown Boys logo. A
Yep.
lot of people don't stop to consider the thought that goes into branding, whether it's a recording artist, whether it's a producer. How much planning and thought did you and Sonny and whoever else was a part of the team at the time, how much thought and energy did you put into planning to the T the Brown Boys identity, visually, sonically, everything?
Um, Planning wise, like it wasn't something that we per se like had written down, but it was something that like I could say me growing up, being a fan of Diplomats, Dipset, Cameron, Jewel, like Jim Jones, like these are the people that I was idolizing when I was like younger in high school, and just seeing how the importance of how you dress, like how you present yourself in pictures or in videos. Like we all know, like they changed the game. They're trendsetters, like fashion, like with the fashion and everything. Like, you know what I mean? I spoke about this in another interview too, where, you know, if it wasn't for Cameron rocking that pink fur, you know, the purple, like normally these kind of colors are more like feminine like colors, but he made it cool to rock this, you know what I mean? And then it was just like a whole wave of like everybody was rocking pink, you know what I mean? So to have this impact, like I guess I was just learning, just watching them evolve from where they started, you know what I mean? Just and it was the music as well for me, like Heatmakers, Just Blaze, like these were like the guys I was listening to, you know what I mean, that helped influence me and my sound, I would say, right? So it wasn't like a written down thing, it was kind of more like an innate thing. It's like I kind of just knew like the steps I had to take. You know, it wasn't just like a one shot thing. It was like, okay, first let's create the name that, you know, like people be like, oh, what's this Brown Boy? It's like, oh, okay, it's probably like a Indian thing, you know, oh, brown skin, like, you know, like, but the people didn't know like it was because there's our fans and our fan base is like worldwide. So this was just more of like where we were from in Canada. So to start with, that was just a blessing in itself that our $100 bills are brown, right? So just tying all that in and just coming out with like with the logo, something that like everybody can make it like it's their own thing, you know what I mean? It has to be something that's relatable to the people, which you can't be just some random thing. Like no one's gonna rep something that they can't relate to or proudly be like, yeah, I'm a brown boy too, like, you know what I mean? Because I felt like at those times it died down as well, but me growing up when I was like little, like there was still a lot of racism and stuff like that, being, you know, called Packy this or Curry that. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, that shit is what got me being like, yo, like we gotta do something about this. You know what I mean? I don't know what per se, but this is something like I gotta help change the mentality of these people because, you know, like we're not like whatever these cartoons like Simpsons or whatever these guys make us out to be. Like, you know, we're it's not who we are. You know what I mean? Like they do all these stereotypes and stuff. So for me, it just kind of like I guess it was like God's plan. I guess like it was just like it just everything just came together to like break that barrier. Like I remember in high school, it was the racism to Indian people was definitely dying down, but I got it pretty bad when I was like in elementary and like I'm talking like young times, you know. But I wanted to do something for like our community, our people that they could be part of something and they could rep it proudly. You know what I mean? So that Brown Boys thing just kind of works. So starting with the logo, um the tag, I'm a brown boy, like when we do shows and stuff like that, like we'll be like, you know, when the song starts, like you can cut the beat and the whole crowd will be going, "Oh, I'm a you know, brown boy," like it was crazy, like. So just having that and me being proud of that is just what drove everything, kind of like just put everything into place, you know what I mean? Just knowing where it started from and where it's at now. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's still evolving. But if I am partially or some sort of influence towards like making like brown people like cool, or you know what I mean, like that's like a proud moment for me. Like aside from being a producer.
So the title of this session today had the word super producer in it, and I refer to you as a super producer because you're the face and the sound of a movement, and that's not a term I use lightly. And you're not hiding behind beats. So, for example, in the So High video, which was really like your first viral record, your name is in the title. The beat starts with your tag. You're shouting yourself out. Your voice is on the record. You're in the music
Yeah,
video a lot. Your tag plays like 5 more times. I mean,
I
you
did that
can't.
purposely.
Yeah,
I did-
yeah. Okay, so here's my question. So what do you do? And you do this consistently, and that's I think why you're such a force and why you're such an influence. So, what advice do you give producers who want to be featured prominently in the songs that they produce, so they can really brand themselves and step outside of playing the background and really become their own entity, really become their own brand in music?
The advice I would give is truly and honestly, you just really gotta be yourself. You know what I mean? Like the way that I am today is this like the same way, the dress wise or whatever, like since high school, just because my influences were, like I said, Dipset, Diplomats, like growing up listening to them, watching them. So I took that on. You know what I mean? Like I got influence from them. So the main thing is, you definitely got to be yourself. You definitely try to be creative. And I know a lot of times like it gets kind of weird when like you're an unknown producer, and sometimes like the artist, like they don't want to give you any, like they don't want to take shine away from themselves and to give it to the producer. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to almost um like brand yourself in a way that you gotta get it on your own first, right? You gotta prove it to everybody and yourself first, like where people want to put you like, yo, because now for me it's like they it got to a point now where it's like they need me, they want me in the video. You know what I mean? It's up to me if I want to be in it or not, but it's like, no, we need you in the video. You know what I mean? And this wasn't like a common practice. Like it was the focus was always about the artist, right? So it got like that just because of the momentum, the drive that we had, and every little thing that we did along the way. You know what I mean? It's like it's like it gets kind of tricky, but it's like you gotta find a way to like get it on your own first, right? Like maybe working with like a talent that's from your city, and working with them, and you guys collaborating and making the video together. You know what I mean? Just I would say that's probably the best way, and then using the quality of your music to elevate yourself. You know what I mean? Where people come to you saying, not only do I want your music, but I want you to be part of my video. Like I need your face. Your face has value. You know what I mean? It'll draw your fans as well, right? So it's like it's not gonna be an overnight thing, but it's a slow grind. Like for me, like I said, for me it took like 10 years, literally 10 years, and like I'm still going, I'm still learning. You know what I mean? So that's probably my best advice.
So there are a lot of ways, now more than ever, now more than when we were first getting our first placements, to make money as a producer. There are so many new revenue streams. What are some of the main ways you make money as a producer today that aren't just getting an advance for selling a beat?
um Other ways, oh yeah, so pretty much like because we're like the record label, so whenever we put out like our own tracks with Big Boy Deep, or if somebody wants to use our platform to, because our I believe we have, let's see, 1 second, I believe, yeah, so we have like about 250,000 like YouTube like subscribers on our channel. So that in itself like could help potentially like a new artist like propel them forward. So once we have the project done and they want to release to our record label, um we make money through like streaming royalties, right, through all like Spotify, the iTunes and such like that. And when it's our own artist, like this was the main thing. Like me and Sunny's mentality was always, like if we're getting money, like we gotta break bread with the rest of the team, whether it's the artist, whether it's whoever. So having that kind of energy is, I think, what helps everybody like stick together and have the same vision. You know what I mean? Because like you probably know too, like everybody's gotten snaked for money, hit left, right, and center. Like I just didn't even want to get into that with like all these other labels, which I have dealt with them, but like I just seen you tweet the other day, like like it's like they'll do anything and everything for them not to pay you, and this goes across the board, whether you're a big record label in America or Canada or India, like they don't want to give you what you want. You know, they're always there. They're gonna try to undercut you. They're gonna try to do this, that. But it's like, I think the best way is because you have all the tools. You have the distro kids. You have TuneCore, CD Baby. You have all the tools you need to make. Main thing is you gotta make a good product. Like the product, end of the day, don't just slap something together. Like yo, you gotta sit on it. You gotta put your all into it, and and you have all the tools to get it out there, right? So other than like advancements and stuff, but yeah, definitely like streaming the SOCANs, the ASCAPs, like from all the work that we do, right? So there's associations out there that um also give you money for the work that you do, right? So those are some other avenues as well.
So let's talk labels. I know we have a couple questions coming in that I'll try to remember to ask you after this, but you did do a lot of work independently. You continue to do a lot of work independently, but you also had records on majors, and kind of like the major of all majors is T Series. Uh, T Series is a label that's actually the most subscribed channel on YouTube, period, just ever.
Right.
And they own 35% of the total Indian music market, which is huge. They're the largest Indian music label. I work with some Indian artists, and the business is very different there.
Right.
From the publishing breakdowns to the money that you get to ownership to intellectual property laws, it's different. What was it like working with a label that big and in a foreign market?
Man, it's like it's never easy, but if you have a name for yourself, like it gets a little bit easier. So I mean, the transaction was actually not too like complex, right? Um, so obviously, how these labels work is once you have like so for instance, say the artist that you're working with has a contractual relationship with that label. They have their own agreement. I'm just coming in to produce the music for them, right? So they're gonna pay me like a lump sum of what I want, right? And they'll send me the contract. It's called the NOC. I'll sign that off. Like once I get my payment, and from after that, now it's the artist and now the label. Like I did my part, and now like unless they need me for like a video or something, but I did my part, and now like I'll just do my like I'll move on from that project, and now the artist is gonna go and do the video, and they'll have their I guess the label will pay the budget for the video. Like everybody's contract or relationship is different. Like how big you are, you get different like perks and stuff like that. So for me, it was a pretty easy process. You know, I did my music, I got everything done. Here you go. I'll sign the contract. Like, so I'm giving up my rights that like, okay, you guys own the song now, and so pretty much they're paying you the lump sum so that they can obviously take the streaming and everything. Like they own all of that. You know what I mean? But thing is, regardless of them being in another continent or different country, like I still did my work. Like I know this is gonna get kind of confusing and complicated, but I'm doing my work in Canada, right? So can still apply to me whether I give that away or sign that off or not. Like I still let them know this is another song that I've done. You know what I mean? So it gets kind of tricky and stuff like that, but it was pretty easy, like in that sense, just because I have a name. You know what I mean? They weren't
Okay,
like
so T Series took your ownership in Indian territories,
right,
and in Canada, in Canadian territories, you still maintain
right,
your
yeah,
your share. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because that was always my struggle with working with a lot of the Indian labels was that, and it's not just India; it's a lot of different countries.
right,
That just have different standards where yeah they might pay you a higher advance because like in the United States you might get 5, 10, 15,000 for a beat. Out there you might get 20, 25, but that's it. You know what I mean? There goes
right,
your ownership. So and that's if you have a name. And so it's different, and it's one of those things that's so long established that artists have to find other avenues to create income for themselves. I mean, now I don't know how it is with touring restrictions and so forth, but
Yeah, all that. Our we had shows that right before like COVID hit, like all of them just got canceled. You know, it was with Big Boy Deep, and it was like we are just about to like get right back into it with him, just launching him, focusing on him, and just because of COVID, just everything got canceled. You know, which sucks, but it's like not in anybody's control.
so what's your response to that? Are you going to just start creating more videos, more content that doesn't require you being in the same physical space as the fans?
Yeah, yeah, like that doesn't stop regardless of if there's like shows or not shows, right? Like, but the other shitty, well, it's not really a shitty. Well, actually, it is because Big Boy Deep is from New Jersey, and like because the border's closed, he can't come over. Because usually, like he'll fly through, or he'll just drive here. Because it's about an 8 hour drive, or he'll just fly like an hour. Like,
Mm,
because the thing is, like the vibe or whatever you create in the studio, it's gonna be different than him just sending me the vocals from his studio. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we're making it work for sure, but like definitely it'd be better if we're like me, Sunny, Big Boy, and whoever else is in the studio just vibing out, jamming. Like it's a different experience. Like the quality, the output would be a lot better, right? But
yeah,
not to say that that's not good either. But it's just like it's a different thing, you know. So, but
yeah. I'm
we're
seeing a
getting
lot
it
of people doing
regardless.
like doing Zoom sessions and I guess it's you know what it's probably different because you already have a chemistry
Yeah,
with Big Boy Deep. Whereas if he were a new artist, it might be a little different as a
yeah,
dynamic.
hundred
Let me ask
percent.
some of the questions from the chat. So, how does someone contact you or Brown Boys to work in any of the ways that you said people can work with you?
Yeah, man. No, it gets kind of crazy just because like through email and DMs, like I have so many people hitting me up like every day. Like I can't even keep up. That's why I just right now it's like a little weird right now just because like it's kind of it's overwhelming, I would say, just to like hit every single person back because like that's the thing, you gotta know how to weave through, right? So it's like I know these days like everybody wants to be a singer, everybody wants to be like a lyricist, and it's like I don't think anybody really has the time and day to just go, you know what I mean, like listen to every single thing and then determine if this is doable. You know what I mean? So it's like I think the reason for that is also because of COVID. You know what I mean? Like, because most of the times we'll have these artists that are interested come by to the studio and stuff like that. But it's a little scary right now just because like they're saying the second wave of COVID is coming. So it's like I don't want to like risk anything. You know what I mean? So that's why it's just usually me in the studio just working on like my projects that I gotta finish up. But the yeah, honestly, I would say the best way is just to hit my email or like brownboysrecords at gmail.com. You know what I mean? And I do check my Gmail more so than I check my DMs. So the main thing is like you gotta send me something to listen to. You can't just hit me up and be like, "Hey, bro, I want to work. What do you charge?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, I gotta hear something. You know, whether it's like a previous song you've released or you sing something for me. So I'll it's up to me to determine if I want to move ahead with that or not, right? So
So here's a question: what's one thing every song must have for it to be solid? That's a hell of a question.
what is the one thing I want for it to be solid? I mean, it's different for everybody, right? It's like, what are you trying to like? What are you trying to achieve? Like, what is your personal taste or the sound you want to create, right? So it's like, what's solid for me might not be solid for somebody else, right? It's just like, what kind of genre of music are you doing? What kind of vibe are you trying to bring, right? Because like, like I would say, a lot of my songs have, like I was saying earlier, like that dark vibe. Um, that bass heavy. Like for me, I would say it has to have the 808 slides for it to be solid for me. But sometimes some people don't like that, or they to them it sounds like noise. Like you know what I mean? Like so it just depends, right? But for me, definitely like the 808 slides is something I definitely for me would make it more solid. Or for me, it just sounds empty, or it just doesn't hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's different too. So you're working in a different way than I think most producers, because most producers are, maybe I shouldn't say most producers, but a lot of people are making beats by themselves in a room by themselves and submitting them to artists. So they're trying to make the beat as catchy as possible. Whereas in a situation where you're with the artist and the artist is writing with you, your beat can actually, like you were saying, it's catering to the lyrics, and you're building the beat around the lyrics. So if the lyrics are already catchy, you don't necessarily have to add a top line melody to the beat. You can just stick with the chord progression and build around it. So I think different situations call for different approaches. Would that be fair to say?
No, no, that's absolutely right, right? And every song is a different vibe, right? So most definitely, it's just what is your approach? What do you want it to sound like? And then you go about it like that, right? That's like because the thing is for me, a lot of people like we're wanting um like songs or music like so high, but it's like I like once you make that one song, it's hard to like make something like similar to that again, you know. And a lot of people were like, "Yo, bro, you gotta make me something like so high, like you gotta do something like that." But it's like we could do some like something else, right? It's just that's the thing, right? You never know what's gonna resonate with the people, right? And it's like maybe that same song, if I dropped it now, might not have hit as hard as it did at that time. Or if I had dropped that same song maybe a few years earlier than it was supposed to, maybe it wouldn't have resonated. Like no one knows this, right? You just gotta make what you internally like the music you want to make. Like if you're yourself sitting at home working on music and you're satisfied, like yo, this is like I love this, and you keep listening to it, like you want to listen to it over and over again, like just sit back and keep playing the beat, and you're like, yo, this is crazy. Then you know you're onto something. You know what I mean? So
All right, how does it feel? Because this is just a unique feeling. Not many producers can say that they've influenced an entire era. I mean, you're working with a very specific population, a very specific demographic, but it's clear to see your influence internationally within the last 3 years within just the Punjabi rap world. And you're hearing a lot of, because before you, before Brown Boys, before So High, that style of beat really wasn't popular in that musical space. It's a very different sound. And now you're seeing the images change, you're seeing the sound change, you're seeing producers trying to duplicate your sound. Just how does that feel, number one? And how does that influence how you move forward with your own branding from this point on?
I mean, it feels great. You know what I mean? Like what they say. What is that? Mimicry is like the highest form of flattery. Like and I don't want to take full credit for you know what I mean? Like changing the sound, or or bringing that into it. Like there was some other people doing their thing as well. So I don't want to take full credit, but like and it feels good like to be able to do that. Like if something whatever I had set out at a younger age that actually came to fruition, like it feels awesome. And moving forward, like I said, you just gotta stay true to yourself. Like I feel like the quality of my music has gotten better, obviously, throughout the year. But I feel like the same energy, the same like sounds that I personally like that I wanted to and capture in my music, it's still there from the beginning. You know what I mean? So it's like you gotta set out like what do you want your sound to be like? Like for me, like I don't really like because like whatever is commercial right now in the hip hop world, like it doesn't always resonate or work well with Punjabi because the thing is with rap, you can have different BPMs, right? Different tempos that a rapper could do the double time or spit fast or slow, right? With Punjabi, it's like you have a certain range. I'm not saying people aren't experimenting and trying to do that. Like for example, if you have that like the drill like a drill type beat, right? Like it's tricky to pull it off um in the Punjabi scene. Just the way like when they're singing, it's like from I would say it's from like a good range is like 80 to 90 BPMs. I would say, you know what I mean. But then what if you have a crazy beat? It's at like 127 or like that's like more like what's kind of in now, like that kind of the tempo of that. But it'll be harder for a Punjabi artist to kind of flow on that. You know what I mean? So it gets kind of tricky, but it's doable. So moving forward, like I said, you just gotta stick to like what you know best, and definitely try to experiment and try new things. You know what I mean?
So here's a question from Bufo. Did you ever have a situation where your copyright was infringed or you had to legally prove ownership of a beat? And then how did you deal with that? And I think we're running out of time, so that's probably the last question.
Um, yeah, no, I've had to deal with that like quite recently. So sometimes what happens is sometimes the distributor like takes longer to distribute your song, and sometimes you put out the video before the audio is actually distributed. So you can run into issues where somebody will rip the audio off and distribute it,
Mm.
right, illegally. Like this tends to happen, and like what you gotta do, you just gotta go to Spotify or Apple and just put in an infringement claim and let them know what's going on, right? And they'll definitely help remove the illegal song that's been uploaded. You know what I mean? So I mean everything is made so easy. So like I said, all the tools and everything you need is just everything's just online now, right? So
Well, once again, appreciate your time. Appreciate you sharing all the insight and experiences. Well, what's the best way for people to contact you? What's the best way for people to follow you? What's the best way for people to check out the newest Brown Boys music?
yeah, so the best way to reach me through the email brownboysrecords@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram, um, Big Bird Pro, BYGBYRDPRO, and subscribe to our Brown Boys Record YouTube channel for like our latest music that we put out. So we got more Big Boy Deep songs coming real soon. And another thing, Payne, I was gonna ask you, like, I know about BeatStars, but like, you want to tell me a little bit how that all works? Because I haven't really gotten a chance to really look into that. Maybe that could be something new I look into.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it changed my life, and there were a lot of people actually at the beginning of the conversation asking if you were on BeatStars, probably because they want to listen to your beats. Um, let me put you in touch with some people after this and see if we can get you on board with that. Because
Okay.
certainly, I mean, I know you have all the beats in the world, and you probably, I mean, make a lot of beats all the time, and it's great to have an outlet for that.
Oh yeah, I know for sure because I think you were saying the same thing too. Like in your tweets earlier, you said like you were kind of like shied away from like putting your beats online for everybody to hear. Because you kind of wanted it more like exclusive kind of thing. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of like in that same mentality. So that's I was wondering like when that changed for you to be like, yo, like you know what I mean?
It changed for me when I so actually the shirt I'm wearing is from the BeatStars Summit that changed my mentality. That was a few years ago. I went to A3C, and BeatStars actually hired me to I wasn't really selling beats on BeatStars. I had some, but I didn't take it
Right.
as seriously as I should have. And so I moderated some panels, and I was talking to the producers, and I was asking them really straightforward questions like, how are you selling beats? What kind of emails are you sending out? What kind of customer data are you using? What do you, and all of their answers were really honest and straightforward. So it didn't feel like the industry, number one, because a lot of people in the industry don't want to just be that forthcoming with information. And then afterwards, all there was this whole group of BeatStars top sellers, and they're all together in a studio session. They invited me, so I came through. My laptop was broken. I was really depressed because I couldn't make music with them. I saw just their work ethic. It wasn't like a studio session where everyone was getting drunk or high or whatever. They're just making beats and talking, and then they started comparing their sales, and they're like, yeah, I just did 1.7, yesterday. Yeah, I'm doing a bulk deal this Friday, a flash sale. I'm probably gonna hit 5,000. I'm just like, how? Are you serious? So after that moment, I just kind of kept networking with these producers, and some of them, actually all of them, I work with to this day. So the people in the room were like Beat Demons, Dream Life, who I got like 5 or 6 placements with this year. Uh, Dylan Graham, the Crates, who I just talked to this morning, who I think they went diamond in Germany recently and just went platinum in the United States for the first time for a Joyner Lucas record, Jamaican, and a couple others. So that changed my life. And then and no, Cash Money AP wasn't there that time. Or maybe he was, but he wasn't at the session. Yeah, no, you're right. I think I met him that time. But I was just seeing, number one, how these guys were working, that the music was at a higher level, and they were creating income for themselves that I wouldn't even have thought existed. And it was more than what I was getting, and it was more than what a lot of people in my position who had placements, who might have had plaques, but didn't have hit singles, were getting. So I was like, I like being independent. I like not having to beg the labels to pay me on time. You know what I mean? Like it gets frustrating. So I just spent more time learning and networking within that community. And funny enough, the more I focused on branding myself online so that I could get my beats to unsigned artists all across the planet, the more attention I was getting, the more, I guess you could say, branding power I was building for myself. So everything you were saying, the more you brand yourself, the better negotiation position you're in when something else happens. Like there are placements that come where I'm like, I don't like these terms, I'm not going to do it. Whereas 10 years ago, I was like, I got to do this because I need this. And it changed my whole approach, honestly. And I think what I was saying was, ironically, the more I did that, the more placements I started getting, the more opportunities I started getting, just because my brand was stronger, my reach was wider, and my network was way bigger, and I was working with the right people.
Right, right, right. No, that makes a lot of sense. I'm definitely gonna look into that, and we'll speak about this after this interview for sure.
Oh, my bad, I was muted. I'll just send you a DM about it.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I'll get an email chain going. Yeah, man. Once again, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk quite a bit. I
Yeah,
didn't know you
yeah,
still
man. That
sampled.
was
I want to send you some samples. I've been making a lot of samples lately with some
okay.
people.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yo, send them over for sure. But yeah, man, thank you for having me. You know what I mean? Shout out BeatStars, and yeah, man, let's get it.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Shout out to everyone that's tuned in. Shout out to everyone asking questions. This will be archived. I'm definitely going to re-upload this to my YouTube channel as well, but it'll be on BeatStars.world. It'll be on the BeatStars YouTube. Clips will be posted to the various channels and so forth, so you know what to expect. Once again, I'm DJ Payne One. Shout out to Byg Byrd. Shout out to BeatStars. We'll be back next week, Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. This is the Music Entrepreneur Club.